Right now, there's this huge battle raging across Europe. But, it's not one with armies or tanks. It's a battle of ideas, a battle of stories. There are basically two powerful, completely different narratives fighting for the very soul of the continent. And if you really want to get what's going on, with everything from Brexit to all the wild elections we're seeing, you absolutely have to understand this clash.
I mean, think about it. We see elections that just blow all the predictions out of the water. Political movements pop up and seem to come from absolutely nowhere. It feels like our political systems just keep surprising us, right? Even the experts are left scratching their heads. It's like all the old rules, all the things we thought were certain, they just don't seem to apply anymore. You've seen the headlines, I'm sure. You look at France, where a totally brand new political movement just propels Emmanuel Macron to the presidency, and boom, the parties that dominated for decades are just swept away. Or look at Italy, where you get a government formed by a right-wing nationalist party and a protest movement that was started by a comedian. I mean, come on, these aren't just little tremors. These are full-on electoral earthquakes. They're changing the entire political map.
So what on earth is going on here? Well, one really powerful explanation comes from the political scientist Peter Meyer. He argued that a huge gap has opened up in our democracies. He called it a political void. And it's a two-sided problem, right? On one side, you have us, the citizens, just kind of disengaging from traditional politics. And on the other side, the political parties themselves, well, they've become more focused on just governing from inside the system instead of actually representing the people. It's like they've totally lost their roots in society.
Okay, so that brings us to the million-dollar question. Why this massive disconnect? And why is this void being filled with so much anger, so much disruption right now? To really get to the heart of it, we've got to dig into these two dueling stories, these two narratives that are trying to explain what Europe even is, and maybe more importantly, where it's heading.
All right, let's dive in. And to do that, we're going to do something that might seem a little weird at first. We're going to look backwards. Way back. Because to really understand the populist story that's getting so much traction today, there's this incredible playbook from 19th century Russia. It comes from a group called the Narodniks. And honestly, their story is basically the DNA of modern populism.
See, at its core, populism isn't just a political strategy. It's a whole moral worldview. And the Narodniks, they absolutely perfected it. They saw the world as this really simple, powerful struggle between two groups. On one side, you have the good, authentic people. For them, it was the Russian peasants. And on the other, you have a corrupt, decadent elite who were just exploiting them. And this deep moral split, this is the engine that drives the entire populist story. The people aren't just the majority. They're framed as the source of all that is good and virtuous. They're unified, they're authentic, they're morally superior. And the elite? Well, they're the total opposite. Whether we're talking about the nobility back then or maybe bureaucrats today, they're always painted as self-serving, totally out of touch, and just fundamentally different from the rest of us.
But here's where it gets really interesting and kind of dark. This is the cautionary tale. The Narodniks started with so much idealism. I mean, thousands of young intellectuals literally went to the people. They moved out to villages to try and spark a revolution. The problem? The real peasants they met were, well, they were suspicious, they were conservative, they weren't the revolutionary heroes these intellectuals had dreamed up. And when that idealized vision just crashed headfirst into reality, the movement got radical, fast. It turned to violence, and eventually they assassinated the Tsar. It's this classic pattern you still see today. When your imagined people don't act the way you want them to, things can take a very dark turn. Okay, so that's one story. Now let's flip the coin and look at the other side of this battle. For decades, the European Union has been working really hard to craft its own powerful unifying story. It's this grand narrative, and it's designed to do two things: bring the continent together and make the whole project of integration seem totally legitimate. So, based on research from Tuli Lavismaki, the EU's official story is basically built on three core founding myths. First up, this idea of a deep, unbroken line of European culture that goes all the way back to ancient Greece and Rome. The second one, it's the dramatic story of rebirth. After the absolute destruction of World War II, Europe rose from the ashes to build a new era of peace. And third, you've got the myth of the heroic founding fathers, these visionary men like Robert Schuman who guided the whole process. And this quote really gets to the heart of why this official story exists. The whole point is to make European integration feel, well, not like just one political choice among many, but more like a historical necessity. The only moral, logical path forward. The ultimate goal is to present the EU's aims as basically choiceless.
So, this brings us right to the heart of the conflict today.
What we have are two powerful, really emotionally resonant, and just fundamentally incompatible stories, and they are locked in a struggle for the very future of Europe.
And you can see the core disagreement laid out perfectly right here. On one side, the EU tells a story of unity and progress, a story that's driven from the top down by these wise leaders. But the populist story, it's a bottom-up tale of betrayal, where the people and their nation have been sold out by a corrupt elite. So it all boils down to this fundamental question. Who is the real hero of Europe's story? Is it the visionary founders, or is it the betrayed people?
So yeah, on the one hand, you have the EU's official biography, if you will. It's this clean, positive success story that's all about peace and shared values. It's a story about institutions and elites building a better future for everyone. But, and this is the key part, this grand success story is being told across that political void we talked about. And for so many citizens who feel completely disconnected from their leaders, from their institutions, this polished, top-down story, it just rings hollow. And that void, it creates this perfect breeding ground for doubt and mistrust, a space where a very different, much more confrontational story can easily grab hold.
So where does that leave us? What happens when an entire continent can't even agree on its own story? Well, you get a profound legitimacy crisis. This isn't just about economics or policy debates anymore. This is a battle over the very meaning, the very purpose of the entire European project.
Okay, let's just do a super quick recap of the main points. You've got the EU telling a story of elite-led unity and progress. Populism comes back with a story of popular betrayal by those exact same elites. And why this clash matters so much is because the EU's authority has always been, in a way, borrowed from its member states. And as those national political systems start to fragment and crack, well, the EU's own foundation starts to crack right along with them.
And all of this leaves us with a really critical question for the future. I mean, can these two stories ever be reconciled? Is it even possible for Europe to write a new, shared story that feels true to everyone, one that finally bridges that void between the people and the institutions that govern them? Or are we actually watching the final chapters of the book on European unity being written right now?